Welcome to your Anime Senpais. I'm Richard.
And I'm John.
And John, last night we went to a movie of some kind, like an anime movie, even.
Anime in theaters.
Yeah, in theaters. It was called
Revolutionary.
Yes, the Saga of Tanya the Evil, the movie, no less. So
wow, what a amazing name.
Right, you know. If you have not seen the movie, we're going to get into the non-spoiler stuff first. But for those of you who have seen the movie and want to get to our spoilers, there should be a timestamp down below in the description. So just click on that and jump right in. But for now, we're just going to talk about non-spoilery stuff. Again,
and I'll even say that it'll actually add to the spoiler stuff as well, because we're not going to cover both.
Right.
Again.
Yeah. But but for people right now that just want to hear the non-spoiler stuff first, we'll just jump right in. So let me first say though that I would imagine most people watching this video and have watched the movie or have probably already watched the Tanya series. But if you haven't, you really need to watch that first before watching this movie, because when I went into this movie, and I think we talked about this yesterday.
Yeah.
When I went into this movie, I thought it was just going to be its own standalone movie, maybe set at like some point of time
in the show,
or something, or whatever, or maybe in the near future or something. But like not, I just thought it didn't have any sort of effect on the series as a whole, kind of like a Dragon Ball Z movie or like the My Hero Academia movie or something like that. It was just its own thing, still has the same characters or whatever, but kind of just its own point of time where it didn't really have any effect on the grander scheme of things. Well, this movie is in fact a sequel to the series. Like, it literally picks off from where the series left off and just goes, So it continues the story. There are some characters that we kind of saw in the series that is making an appearance here. So again, if you haven't seen the series first, go watch the series and then watch the movie. And then for anybody that has watched the series and is kind of on the fence about the movie, like, I don't know if I really want to watch it or not, you probably want to watch the movie. Yeah, because it does, like I said, continue the story from there on, from that point on. So, and I assume if there is going to be another series after this, it'll continue off where the movie left off at. So go do those things, and then you should be good to go. But in any case, so and for the people that have watched the series, if you like the animation and if you like the music, you like the characters and everything like that, the movie was very consistent in that aspect.
Yeah,
I would say.
Very, very much so. Like, it actually felt like I was just watching the next episode.
Essentially, yeah. I felt like I was watching a really long episode of time.
Which is not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. Although I was a little disappointed because this being a movie, I kind of set my expectations a little higher, a little bit better animation, which I would say, with the exception of the last battle, that last little section of the movie, everything else was just, like I said, kind of consistent with the anime series. Not bad.
And I mean, there were some things like I had brought up when we were talking about just the overall map landscape, things like that.
Right,
in the series they had stationary maps where somebody would maybe use their stick to kind of move around little points and just kind of show where the battles were taking place.
Have like Tanya just kind of like reach up.
And the movie themselves, they went a little, they showed that they were using a little bit more money, and they had it all CG, and all the little pieces would move on the board, and if they defeated someone in battle, the piece would crumble.
Right.
And it was kind of cool, but it wasn't even really necessary. It was just like a little side thing that was like, oh, that's neat. But
I think they just blew all their budget on the last battle, which we're going to get to that in a little bit in the spoiler part. But yeah, it was just like minor details though.
Yeah, minor things. I mean, some of the CG on some of the different things I thought looked pretty decent for the most part.
Yeah. There were some shots where like it showed.
The shots where it didn't look as good kind of took me back into the whole feel of, oh, it's an episode. I'm just watching it on a bigger screen.
Exactly. Which is why I was kind of disappointed. It's like, I kind of have a higher expectation. I'm not saying it needs to be like super perfect, but like again, like there would be shots where it showed like a huge army and they're just kind of marching across the field, and it's really noticeable. Like this doesn't look really all that great.
And to me, because it didn't seem like a much different experience, it kind of kept me in there. It kept me into the world of like, okay, this is what I expected.
Yeah.
For me, because honestly, since it's been so long since I watched it, and I didn't even finish it years ago when it first came out, I went and binge watched the entire thing the day or two before, and as like right before I went to the theater, I finished the last episode and was running behind because I was finishing the last episode, and then walked right into the showing, and it just felt like the TV episode, just longer, bigger, whatever. But it had the same dips in quality. The rises were better, but I mean I don't know. I guess I wasn't expecting as much, but
I guess I don't know.
I mean, from the series though I thought was actually really well done to begin with.
Right,
so.
Right. And again, I'm not trying to take anything away from the movie or the series. It's just like I said, when it comes to a movie, like I have just a higher expectation. Like I don't know, just even just a little bit better animation, which again there was at the end, but I guess really just the CGI at various points of the story. There was even one part where like, and it's not going to be spoilery, but she's talking with another major from a different unit. And, they're just kind of walking along, just talking, and then they kind of shake hands. And there's just some parts where, like, their faces were kind of weird, I guess. It's really hard for me to describe, but it's just, there were some different parts like that where it just looked really off. Like, you guys can do a little bit better. But to be fair, of course, there's always the possibility that they may, before the home release, they'll go back and re-edit and re-animate those different parts and make it look better. So hopefully for those that haven't seen it yet, when you do get a chance to watch it Blu-ray or whatever else, that you'll get the higher quality experience, and they'll fix some of those issues. So
what are some of the things you didn't like about the movie though?
Well, other than the animation, dips in animation here and there. Honestly, and again, I'm not going to go into spoilers just yet, but as far as the story goes, like a lot of the action sequences were. Most of the action sequences, there was some good fights in there, but most of them were just kind of like, we're done. We're just gonna go in there, shoot some things, and we're done. Especially like the very first fight, like that was in the previous season. It was kind of built up, and it's like, we gotta things are gonna be happening in this area, but no, it was just like, bam, bam, bam. Got to this place here, and then blow it up, and good job, guys. Let's go home. Let's go home, drink some beer. Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, everything else. Of course, I guess this is kind of show that Tanya, especially, but Tanya and her company are pretty OP. They're really skilled.
Got a lot of training and things. So yeah.
And of course, Tanya has. God on her side, so to speak. But otherwise, I mean, which I get that, but at the same time, it made the action sequences kind of short, and it was just like, just kind of lackluster, really. There's one part they go into a city, and they are essentially just unopposed for the most part. They're just in the city, just and they're just talking, just having a good time. Like, hey guys, I shot this and I shot that, and all that stuff.
And it was almost like comedy. I mean, really at that point,
honestly,
it was
It was just it just felt really flat up until the last fight. Which again, I keep saying that. I'm sorry, but the last fight was pretty amazing. But in any case, what did you?
I'm gonna actually have to say I'm gonna have to wait. Until the spoiler part goes. Right. Kind of talk about what I didn't like, just because it kind of does deal with the last fight.
Okay. All right.
So, but things we like, we already talked about the animation. Some of the things like that. There was a lot more fighting in the show. I did enjoy that. I did enjoy. I do enjoy the different aspects of their aerial combat, especially whenever they have like different countries and different. Devices maybe they use to fly,
right?
Because I know like there's one country that was in the TV series that used like the Iron Horses or whatever they were,
right.
And they had I guess a couple new ones in this one that had a couple different takes on their aerial machinery or whatever, and that was kind of cool. So
Yeah.
I mean, there was just all these little additions and stuff like that I really enjoyed to the movie and the story, the lore behind all the different countries.
Yeah.
Different additions like that.
Which is funny because most of that lore is based off of like actual history. So it's
Yeah.
like you have not France and not Britain and not Germany, and it's like, but you can tell like that's what they're based off of, and like especially Tanya's group is based off of Germany, obviously. So there's that element there where like they're just drinking beer and eating bratwursts and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, I do really like the world though. I mean, I guess because it's so similar to ours, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's like it's similar to ours, but it's like it's got the magic element to it too. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, was there anything else as far as like non-spoiler that you wanted to talk about before? Kind of jump in.
No, I think that's about it. I mean,
Okay.
overall, I would say, just as an overall impression, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. It was, again, just a straight sequel. It did surprise me about that for a little bit, but I was fine with it once I got into it. And but overall, I thought it was pretty good. Again, without spoiling anything, which
Yeah. I mean, overall, it was really good. I really recommend it to those that have watched the series.
just fans in general, really.
Yeah,
Anybody
I mean, it would be a little harder to understand, I think, for people that don't know the background of the story and the characters.
Right.
I think there's kind of not really a learning curve, but just something you have to have before you go into it.
Oh yeah,
it's required.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Or at least you'd come out kind of confused, like, what was all that?
I mean, it'll probably still be entertaining, but at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for action, I mean, there's action, definitely action, but
yeah, it was very dialogue heavy.
yeah,
I'll
it
give
was
it that.
extremely dialogue heavy. A lot of what do you call it? Political intrigue in there, stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, despite that though, I enjoyed it. It was a good experience.
Yeah.
So
let's throw up a warning somewhere.
spoilers. So.
And we're going to talk spoilers now.
All right,
so.
yeah, let's get right into it. So, do you want to talk about the big battle at the end, or do you want to talk about?
I mean, let's just kind of go through it. I mean, really, kind of one thing we brought up was the fact that you were kind of surprised that it was not a story taken from the original series.
Right.
Going into it, that's actually what I hoped for, was that this was going to involve the daughter of the man that was killed in the series, and I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
But
Mary Sue.
Yeah, Mary Sue was the girl, though.
Literally a Mary Sue.
So going in, driving to the theater, I was even telling my daughter, I really hope this movie is about that girl, because the series to me left off like, oh, there's this girl signing up, and
see,
that was it.
I was surprised that I was the exact opposite. I was so surprised she was actually in there, again, because I was expecting this to be its own different thing. But as soon as I saw her, I was just like, are you kidding me? She's actually going to be in this?
Yeah.
She's actually going to take part in this? And even then, I was just thinking, well, maybe it's just going to show her training.
Unified Nations.
Yeah, the Unified Nations, yeah. But I thought it was just going to maybe show her training or something. Maybe she's just going to make a cameo. That was going to be the biggest thing. No, she was like central to the story.
Once she took a part, like once she was introduced and started kind of going in, becoming a part of the story, she became a very major part very quickly.
Yes,
especially whenever she jumped on the thing, it was like, I need to go fight these people. There, we can't let them do that.
Yeah. Which, by the way, oh man. So, fun fact: Tanya does not like communists. Who knew?
What?
Which makes sense because, I mean, not Germany and not Russia, I mean, that's kind of a thing.
Yeah. Or
at least it was back in the day. But it was pretty funny. Like, and she didn't just say that one time either. She just kept going on and on.
Oh, yeah.
Every time she said that, it was like, those dang communists. Of course, I'm trying to censor this, but those dang communists, we got to fight them, da-da-da. And just like, I don't know, maybe she doesn't actually hate them. Or no, actually she does. She does, because she mentioned the fact that...
And it's so weird seeing it from their point of view, because they're just like, why are they doing all this stuff?
Right.
We're just trying to settle everything and live in peace.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, because she wants to have a nice, easy life, and I guess communism or whatever, like, at least from her point...
all that.
Yeah, from her point of view, that would threaten all that, so... she just wants to stand up at the top and just be like, relax and just not have to worry about anything. But it was kind of funny, though, like, it's just her ragging on communists and everything. And then we had not Stalin, and we had like his statue, and they blew up the statue, and this is the part where you were talking about like
the city they came into and just just totally annihilated because no one was guarding it. No mages were.
Well, no,
around.
there was no mages because I guess
the one
not Russia doesn't like mages.
Locked them all up.
Locked them all up.
Set them all off.
Yeah, to a camp, which I guess they went to not Siberia. But also on top of that, their anti-air defenses. Even Tanya knew this too. Like their anti-air defenses were just nothing. That like they meant nothing to these mages. So it was just funny just seeing them like just go into this to the capital to not actually it was Moscow, wasn't it? I
think so. Yeah,
it actually was named Moscow. And they just went to Moscow just like, yeah, we're just gonna blow up Red Square. We're just gonna blow up not Stalin's statue. We're just gonna blow up all the.
And then they were like, well, why don't we film it?
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing about this movie. If it wasn't taking place in like World War I or II, if this took place like in during our time frame, I could just imagine Tanya just like taking photos for Instagram or not Instagram, I guess, not Facebook, record things and put it on not YouTube, whatever. Yeah. That was hilarious. Like they're singing their national anthem.
And me and you were like, this is like Isekai Quartet because that's what they did in the talent show just like a couple weeks before.
Yeah. So I mean, it was hilarious, and of course that backfired. I mean.
I mean, even like their leaders though were like, well, that's a little too far.
Like
too far.
One guy was just like, what have you done? We can't negotiate peace now because of this. But yeah, I thought that whole scene was just
for
hilarious.
me, that was actually probably one of the better parts that I enjoyed so much.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
There was that. Just briefly, another one I really enjoyed was just them in their downtime, just having a little drinking.
Oh, yeah.
And singing and playing around. And Tanya was just like, you know what, you guys earned it. Just kind of let loose. I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
And but make sure you're ready and up for whatever tomorrow.
Right.
Be responsible.
Yeah.
Which they were totally wasted.
They were not. Yeah. Absolutely. But actually, now that you bring up that scene, that does bring up one thing that I just remembered. So being X.
Okay.
Didn't really play much of we didn't actually see him. We saw his inner workings. We saw
there was a flash whenever she woke up.
Yeah.
Of the Nutcracker that was in the series, and I even thought where you're going. I thought there was going to be at least something.
Yeah, I thought he was going to
something
pop up in a body or even the Nutcracker thing or just whatever. No, he was other than that one little flash that you were talking about. He wasn't there at all. It was really more just his influence. That we'll talk about here in a second, but really more with just Mary Sue.
There was actually someone, I can't remember who it was. There was one scene in the movie, I wish I could remember now, but Tanya had killed someone, or maybe it was even with Mary. I thought she had killed Mary, and being X was actually going to take over her body.
Yeah, just like...
That was actually what I thought was going to happen at the end.
Yes.
But... No. Mary was fine, and she got rescued and flown out.
Right. Well, so if we're going to talk about that, let's go ahead and get into the final battle because we've teased this enough for this entire video. So let me just say, for me at least, the final battle was amazing. I thought, like I said, they probably blew all their budget in this one section here, which was fine. But Tanya versus Mary Sue, that was a crazy battle. They're just kind of going through these buildings and all this other stuff.
And Mary's just blasting her beam everywhere.
Yeah. I remember when she first fired that off, the whole theater just what? There was a definite reaction. There was whoa,
whenever what was it? She got mad or something like that, and you just saw the golden light just burn up around her, and I was like, oh
yeah, no, I was expecting that because that I think he was even teased at the end of the series she talked about God or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think so because she was signing up
right
at the registration thing or whatever it was, and she was like, yeah, I want to defend my country and this and for God and country, and her eyes glowed golden or whatever it was they're supposed to, and it kind of let it on
right.
Oh
yeah,
that's coming.
I mean, which of course now Tanya has someone that is equal to her now or greater than her.
Yeah.
So which up to this point, I mean, she's had she's been in some really tough spots, but she's not had like an actual rival like this.
And even going back to the being X thing, she, throughout the series, she actually did her prayer thing quite a decent amount, where she would be like, okay, I need to wipe out like this whole field, or she'd do a prayer,
or the headquarters at the beginning, which I had to kind of stop myself from saying, but the headquarters at the beginning of the movie in not Africa, where she said the prayer, and one guy is like the main leader of the bad guy or the opposing force was just kind of sitting like, oh, we're dead, and then the one guy just grabs him and is like, I'm sorry, sir, and throws him.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I'm pretty sure that happened before in one of the other countries, but yeah, that was just hilarious. I'm sorry, sir, you need to survive.
Threw him out in a bunker. Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, she didn't really. She only in that last fight did she actually use a prayer to actually. If I remember right, I mean, maybe in the beginning, but it wasn't a prominent thing for her.
Right. She used it in the beginning. I remember that for sure because. She's
right.
She's like,
as that bullet passed through, and then all of a sudden it's got really huge,
big,
which they never really showed what kind of happens whenever in the series, what happens with those prayer things. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, but I definitely remember because she at the beginning was just like, I hate having. She had that little inner monologue like, I hate having to do this because I know that all it's doing is giving being X a bigger ego or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of just basically saying something along those lines. Then. She's like, I just got to do this because I got to finish off this fight or whatever. And she says the prayer and then, boom, So, but yeah, she did say it at the very end too with Mary Sue. And that was a really good part too because, Mary Sue, I think what'd she do? She like used her beam and she thought it was done or something like that, right? Or.
I mean, it was after Mary had like beaten Tanya pretty bad, wasn't it? Because. She had turned to kind of worship the statue, and Tanya threw the knife in her back. Yeah. Then, kind of as she fell, she jumped up on her, like was standing over her, and was going to shoot. And then that one guy kind of broke through the glass, shocked Tanya.
No. She actually
did
no.
She
shot. She shot. Okay, so
I thought it was.
She threw the knife at Mary Sue, and then Mary Sue got stuck. Which, by the way, that was so dumb. So Mary Sue, she's sitting here. She beat Tanya on the ground, whatever, and then just like kind of grabs her head and drags her away a little bit. And like, did she think that she killed Tanya? Like, is that what? I guess she was just such in a high fever because she's so inexperienced. Maybe.
I mean, she did look like. I mean, I honestly thought, and this was just me in the theater at the time. I was like, I think this is actually the end of Tanya. Like, I actually had that thought pass through my mind that this is probably the end of Tanya, which. Would have been ironic, and it would have been justified for what she did to the girl's father.
Yeah, that is one thing about one thing about this movie. It's like, or even the series too. It's like Tanya is definitely the bad guy, but I don't want her to die just yet.
And really, since we started this movie, was it 40 to 60 years in the future? There was a whole going into this. I had this feeling of, so we're gonna see what happened at the end of this war. Or what ends it. Right. That's actually what I kind of, what they led me to believe. Oh,
yeah.
Because they were like, it was a time of peace. Things are done, obviously. That the mad scientist is now a priest or whatever. And everything's resolved. They don't show if Tanya is around. They don't show if, Germany won. Right.
Well, no, actually, it was heavily implied that
But that's right.
The Empire fell.
They lost. Yeah, that's right.
Because the priest, I think, was the one that mentioned, like, at that time we were at the height of our power and and then after that it went downhill or something like that.
But it doesn't show where Tanya, whatever happened to her. So that's why I kind of actually figured this movie would explain where that went. Maybe the last couple battles would have been the downfall of the country or of the Empire. But it didn't. It actually led on, honestly, to me, to another season.
Yeah,
or a continued, or another movie.
Yeah.
So.
But no, going back to Mary Sue. So basically, Tanya threw the knife at her back, and then Mary Sue turns around, and then Mary Sue, I think, was about ready to charge Tanya, but Tanya had her pistol, which I was.
That's right. Yeah.
Like
pulled out her pistol. Which...
Like actually, even when she threw the knife, I was thinking like, why didn't Tanya just use her pistol? Like, and then she pulls out the pistol. It's like, oh, there it is. And then she shoots her
like in
the head, which I guess ricocheted onto the, or no,
Oh, I thought it was through the shoulder or something.
Through the shoulder, I guess, and then
the bullet
ricochets
went through the head of the statue.
That's right. And then she shot her in the chest, shot her a whole bunch of different places, and then Mary Sue falls down, and I guess Tanya was about ready to finish her off, and then that's when that guy, the commander, I guess, came in and picked up Mary Sue rather.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, no, the whole time though with Mary Sue, like she's beating Tanya on the ground, and she's just like, I'm just sitting here thinking like, I mean, are you just gonna like not kill her? Like, I guess you could punch her, but like punching her is not gonna kill her like straight out.
I mean, it was just
she got
more
some really
her raw emotions going through at that point.
Right, and don't get me wrong, there was like some really heavy shots there with her fists. Like, I mean, you could like it echoed off the walls and everything. Like, I was just like, wow, that's.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I thought she was gonna die.
See, I didn't think that. I think I was like, I was like, that's not gonna kill her. I mean, it's gonna hurt her a lot.
Well, yeah,
give her a concussion maybe. I don't know, but.
I mean, I didn't think that would kill her, but I figured by the end of the movie she would have died.
Oh, okay.
But
I guess, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought the whole battle with just those two, at least, like, very well done. And man, I do want to see more. I'm kind of glad that this is going to continue on too, because I do want to see more of her versus Mary Sue, and I can only assume Mary Sue's going to win at this point because. A, her name's Mary Sue, and B, we know that the Empire's going to fall. Although Tanya could still survive and just be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to escape to wherever and to not Brazil and just live out my days there in peace. I don't know. I
mean, she's a little girl. I mean, she'll grow up to be different looking maybe.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
Can you really condemn a 9-year-old? I mean, maybe at that time they could have, but
I guess, yeah. Who knows? I mean, she maybe if she was just a normal soldier, but just the fact that she's
she's a named maids and different things like that. But
like people know who she is, and they even made propaganda of her. So it's like, yeah, if they ever do catch her, they'll probably end up trying her, or they may not hang her or anything, but they'll at least keep her locked up or something because they know that she's too dangerous to. Be free. And
that was even another thing with this movie. I actually, since it started so far in the future, I actually thought there was going to be a time jump in the movie itself. Like, hey, we started off where the series left off. Now we're going to jump a couple years ahead.
Oh yeah.
To kind of show where the battle's wrapping up.
Yeah.
But that never happened, obviously.
Right.
So there was a couple things going through my mind at the beginning of this movie that I was like, well, they could have explored so many different things, but they chose to focus on Mary Sue, which was fine. I wanted to know what happened anyway.
Right.
But
and again, I was the opposite because like at the end of the series, like they built up this upcoming war in not the Sahara Desert, and you had what was it? Was it not France that were kind of bringing their forces to the Sahara Desert, and then of course. Tanya and her crew had to go there, and then Tanya was there, and she gave this big grand speech or whatever. And so, to me, it felt like they were really building up that war in the Sahara Desert, or not Sahara Desert, excuse me.
Yeah.
They were building up that war, and then the beginning of this movie, like I said just a little while ago, was just like, we're just going to fly past these guys, and we're going to attack the headquarters.
Yeah.
Done. Let's go home, guys.
I mean, that was such a big thing in the show anyway.
Right.
They did the shock and awe plan. I don't know if that was what they called it in the movie, but they did that in the series where it just became a thing in the series like, hey, we're just going to go and attack the headquarters.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Then they attack the headquarters, attack the capital, whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, eventually that became a thing where once they did it in the movie, and I was like, well, that's really just how they finished up the series.
I mean, I guess so, but I was expecting just more mage battles. Maybe it would have taken them a lot longer to get to there. Or maybe the headquarters would have to, the people at the headquarters would have to like retreat, and then maybe Tanya could catch them, or or at least her company would catch them as they're retreating or something along those lines. But no, it was just like, we're just gonna go this way, and we're at the headquarters. We're done.
Yeah, and I mean, as a side thing, with the new country's aerial machinery, did it remind you of broomsticks? Because they were just like they were a long stick with like a machine on each side, like a little tube or whatever, and I was like, these just feel like broomsticks to me, like the way they're riding them and everything.
Well, I don't know about broomsticks, but one, it kind of felt like a combination of the Iron Horses from the series, as well as
the skis.
no, the those one things from Star Wars: Return of the Jedi that the stormtroopers were riding on.
Oh, the land speeders or whatever they are.
Land speeders, yes. That kind of made, that's what, if we're thinking about the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I can see that. Just because they fly around on them, that was the first thing that popped in my mind while I was watching them. I was like, oh, look, now we actually have, like, because they're mages, they have
right.
like a broomstick-esque
yeah,
kind of
that makes sense.
aerial thing.
That
but
makes sense.
I don't know, it just kind of struck me as funny. There was
Yeah.
just like something in there that I enjoyed, like a little thing of. But,
But yeah, for most part, like we said in the non-spoiler part, though, like most of this movie was just dialogue. I mean, we had the fights here and there, but it's just like very one and done, where it's over with, and then maybe we'd focus on Mary Sue, then maybe we'd focus on Tanya a little bit, then we'd focus on the leaders of the Empire, or the leader, or we'd focus on not Stalin and his.
Yeah, and honestly, if you didn't keep up with it, there were times where I was like, wow, if you don't keep up with this, you're going to miss something.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, it might not be major, but if you didn't follow it and they, made some kind of snide remark or whatever, like, you could hear people laughing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, there are so many different things. People are keeping up with this.
Actually, I did miss out on one thing. It was after the credits, which, by the way, if you watch this movie, there is an end credit scene. Or, mid credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the movie, Tanya gets transferred to the rear guard, I guess, to do some research, which is something else I want to talk about here in a second. But
yeah,
she goes there. She gets put on to this research project or whatever, and then it goes to the credit scene. Mid credit scene is like she gets a call from the headquarters, and they're like, "You've done a good job," and I missed this part, but
I think I know what you're talking about.
I'm assuming that
I think the guy was like, "You did such a good job. We're gonna put you in charge, or you lead it."
I missed that part, and then I heard people laughing because at the time I had some messages on my phone. My house alarm went off, so but I had a message on my phone. I was looking at that right quick, and I heard people laughing, and then I saw Tanya just kind of sitting still, and I was just like, "What happened? What went on?" And then he went on to say, like, "Yeah, you did such a good job.
No one else is fit to."
Yeah. And then I was like, "Oh, did they put her on that? Oh, okay." Yep. And of course that would make sense anyways. But going back to the research project itself, though, I was thinking that she was going to develop
an atomic bomb.
Atomic bomb, yes. That's what I was thinking. Because
now, did they have a picture of that in the background in the movie? I can't remember.
I didn't see that.
Because I know at one point, maybe it was in the series, but there is an actual shot of an atomic bomb.
Really?
And I think it's toward either the end of the series or maybe in the movie, but I can't remember which. But there was a shot where they're talking about the future of war and things like that, and she talks about things that she's seen from her history.
Oh, okay.
And there was a snapshot in the background of the atomic bomb blowing up, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And see, that's what
really?
I thought that's what she was going to go with, because, I mean, yeah, there's mages, and they are powerful, especially Tanya, but, I mean, look what the atomic bomb did here, did in our world, and so, like, it would pretty much set up a Cold War type of situation, I would imagine. Or it would set up the Empire winning the war, which I guess wouldn't make sense, because then you had the 60-year...
But it would have been a temporary victory if that was the case.
Yeah, that's true, yeah, because I'm sure, much like in our world, spies or something would have gotten their hands on the plans to do that, and then everybody has nukes, and then everybody doesn't want to fight anymore. So, but I mean, that's what I was thinking, because I remember she had like a bunch of papers here, and she was talking with her commanders and all that stuff, and she was talking about a long-lasting peace. And as soon as she said something along those lines, I was just like, "Oh, she's going for the bomb."
Yeah.
Oh no. So, but it doesn't.
I can see that. Yeah.
It doesn't look like that's what happened. I guess she just better organized the military. Essentially, is what I got.
I mean, yeah. Whatever she's gonna lead, though, it's gonna be on her. So.
Yeah, that's true. So she's getting put back onto the front lines and right back into the action. She did have 2 months, though. She had 2 months to rest, so I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think that was the thing Being X told her all along was she wouldn't have any peace.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's true. I think she even mentioned that too in this movie too. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Being X said to me a long time ago I would never have peace. But yeah, I mean, yeah, overall, like I said, I mean, it was a good movie. But
Yeah.
there were some aspects that I was just like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't enough negatives to really take away from the experience. I really
Right.
enjoyed it overall. I really would recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to be something I buy, maybe
Really?
whenever it comes out, possibly. I mean, or at least rent or something like that. Watch it one more time at home, just because I enjoyed it. Maybe even rewatch the series again whenever it comes out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I enjoy her character.
Before we finish up, I was not able to stay for the. There was like I think after credits where the directors were talking about. So
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to watch that. Could you fill us in on that a little bit?
Well, I mean, and I'll be honest. And I had talked about this before. It was a little slower pace. They did have 4 of the directors and screenwriters, in the after credit thing, and they just kind of, went through their thought process on making this movie. They talked about pacing. They talked about how they didn't want it to, whether they were going to make it like a 3-point American movie or a 4-point Japanese style movie. They had different things like that they talked about. They talked about, how they were going to do the script, whether they were going to kind of treat it the way the series was, I think, and different things. And I mean, they did talk about the movie they made in Moscow. They talked about that.
Yeah.
They talked about that being and in particular, a difficult scene to edit, and they were talking about how they didn't want it to seem too much of I guess like a comedy kind of scene or over the top. They kind of had probably the most trouble, they said, with that scene in particular, kind of balancing how serious it was versus how much of a a mocking kind of thing it was.
Yeah.
And that's fair. They even showed a couple different storyboards about different scenes that were, I believe, in the movie anyway. Just kind of how they were drawn, how they were represented. They even talked about how there were some scenes they left out just because they were either too funny or too much comedy or too serious. There was different things they talked about. They didn't really lead on to what they were. They just talked about how they had some tough decisions to make whenever they were going through editing. And really, compared to some director things I've seen, this one, it just seemed like they spent a lot of time just slowly getting started talking about it. Like it felt like it was a good couple minutes before they actually started talking, because they were just like, they almost seemed like they were repeating the question a little bit. They're like, so how we approached directing and editing Tanya. And, they just would repeat the question, it felt like, and just kind of slowly reveal details until finally they got into it.
Right.
But there wasn't a whole lot, I felt like, they added to the movie itself.
There was not a lot of insight there.
No, I mean, like, the different things I talked about were kind of interesting, but it took a while for them to actually start talking about that. And I was almost disappointed a little bit, but even after that was over, they had I guess a letter or something like that written, done by the actual writer of the manga pop up, and it was in Japanese with subtitles. And he was and it was actually kind of funny. I wish I could remember all of it because it was going by so quick for as much as he wrote. Yeah. But it was something like how he approached this particular series. It was as a bowl. It was comparing ramen to an isekai. And he and he was talking about how this particular bowl of ramen is topped with all these different ingredients, which he was talking about different parts of Tanya the series and stuff, and it was just like, okay, I mean, sure. And that's just kind of how I guess he was giving his philosophy on how he treated isekais and in particular the Tanya story. But it was just kind of funny, and I actually hope that's on the Blu-ray, the home release, because I would like to go back through and a little more time read that, because it was it struck me as funny, but it was going so fast, and there was actually subtitles on top and bottom just full of his text of what he was saying, and they would just quickly glide through it, and I was like, well, got the main point of it, but But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed staying after to watch it and kind of see what they had, but in the end, I could have probably left after the credits and not missed as much as I didn't think there was too much.
Right.
Otherwise, I mean, I didn't think it needed to be as long as it was, honestly.
So basically, it's something that you.
I mean, I wouldn't sit through it again. I really wouldn't,
Okay.
because it was actually so slow paced that sometimes I was like, wow, what? You guys just weren't ready for this.
Either they weren't ready, or they were just like. Sounds like to me that they were just told like, "Hey guys, do this," and they were just like, "Okay, I guess."
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, and maybe that's the case, but and maybe someone else, in the comments down below, if you saw it, just maybe add some more details. But I just don't remember much standing out from that really added to what I got from the movie itself, anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Well,
speaking of comments, I mean, if there anything else?
No, I'm actually, I think we covered most
Yeah,
of it.
I think we've pretty much said our piece. So let us know what you guys thought of it down in the comments below. If you saw it, or if you want to see it, and what are your expectations? Let us know.
And if you enjoyed the movie, if you enjoyed this review, subscribe. Hit the notification bell to keep up with our channel, the videos we put out every week, the reaction videos we do. And if you'd like to consider supporting our channel, we got links down below for all that as well. So we'll see you next time.